Money in the Bank, and it will have a Raw brand and a SmackDown brand. So both shows getting a chance to compete for that briefcase that will indeed give them a shot at one or other respective WWE World titles. Of course, those competitors now locked down since last week for the WWE Raw Money in the Bank match. We have as follows: Kofi Kingston, Rey Mysterio, Evan Bourne, Alberto Del Rio, R-Truth, Jack Swagger, Alex Riley and The Miz. So all those guys competing for that.
It's gonna be a good match. Give me that list again.
So we have Kofi. So starting off with Kofi, Rey Mysterio, Evan, Del Rio, Truth, Swagger, Riley and Miz, all going to be in that. And of course, who is going to be coming out on top? It's an interesting mix, a better mix than the SmackDown mix, I think for sure.
Yeah,
the names are bigger, aren't they?
Big time, yeah. Big time. They're not scraping the barrel on Raw. Kofi, I'd X him out from the get-go. Rey, I'd X him out too. Evan Bourne, great performer. I wouldn't mind seeing him do well. Del Rio, I think it's probably the safe bet. Truth would be a safe enough bet, especially in the position he's in. Who else is there? Swagger would be terrific. Riley, too early. And Miz, would imagine, could very possibly be the one to get back up there too.
He would be a particularly interesting choice at this stage, because it looked like he was transitioning out of Cena territory and heading back to the mid-card where I think he belongs anyway. But maybe in this case they're going to change it up, and as you say, he looks like the strongest in terms of who is in that lineup, and as to exactly who could take that. Whatever about those guys, I was thinking about it this week. I'm sure this might have happened before, but you know, what would happen, and maybe with two of these matches going on, we questioned last week, how can you have two guys doing that? Of course, last year, and of course they could just do that, but it would to me be a bit repetitive, I thought. But Kane cashed it in on the night, so they've got to come up with something like that in order. Well, they don't have to, but to me they should. But
it
anyway,
would be nice to see something that we haven't seen.
Something crazy should happen on the night, but you know, if they're going to throw two guys out there with the briefcase, another thought of mine would be, what would happen if both guys grabbed the briefcase, unhooked it, they both had their hands on it, and it dropped out of both their hands? Now, can a guy then, like an Edge maybe, he's not in it, but you could see him doing it, just jump in then, grab it, and it's his? Or
yeah, that's very possible. I'd imagine so, yeah.
Something like that could maybe be the result.
There was some kind of thing like that I saw recently on, not to go too off on tangent, but the WCW Best of Monday Nitro, there was some kind of a match, something, the belt was suspended above 3 cages, Nash and all the old cronies, but you know, the thing fell, and it was one of those opportunist moments.
That's right, yeah.
So I'm sure it would be a similar situation for the briefcase. Why is The Miz... Is it The Miz or is it Alex Riley? Somebody's still carrying around a briefcase.
Actually, Riley, actually The Miz kind of had that briefcase. Riley was carrying it around for him as well. I asked that a while back. I think somebody had a good answer for that. I think it was a situation where that was just his gimmick or something.
But I mean, yeah, fair enough if he's won it or whatever and it's cashed in and he's lost the belt. I don't know why he should still be carrying it around. Maybe there is a logical explanation.
Yeah, somebody will answer that. They're probably in the room, whoever answered it last time, but I think there was some kind of reason why he had that. But yeah, it's a strange one. It's something I noticed before, definitely, and I wondered. Now I'm looking again at these Raw Money in the Bank names, and of course we've gone through, you know, one or two of them. Of course, Kofi, he's probably the second strongest person, I think, in this in terms of a possible winner. I think Rey is on the slide. You know, I think Sin Cara has 100% replaced him, and I don't think they need the guy as much anymore. He still does good matches, but now it's time for him to maybe take that long break, because he's had the kind of sick leave and things like that. But you know, 2-3 years now, you know, get your stock back up now in value. You know.
He's had great matches, in fairness to Rey. you know, he's kind of won too easy right off because he's been on such a long run and he's done quite a lot. But he does. In fairness to the guy, he has great matches. That match. Although one thing I will say about this, that is a tornado match. Is that what they call it? The thing that was on Raw with Ray, Punk, and Riley. That's messy stuff, isn't it? It's very, very messy. Now I didn't like that. Although Alex Riley, I'll tell you one thing, he's definitely a good worker. Definitely a good worker. Although it was just messy. Everybody's watching everybody, trying to time things right. Very, I'm not a fan of that tornado stuff. Tornado tag maybe, but the four way is a no go. Alex Riley on the other hand, eventually I think he'll probably get there, but I don't know if he'll be taking the Money in the Bank this year. Swagger, I think Swagger needs to be pushed back up there. I know we've said it before, and Jericho said it, but I do believe he's a funny guy.
Certainly, if someone's going to be pushed, Swagger has had that kind of championship put over a long time ago, and what's been since the Michael Cole angle, and I felt like he was just fodder in that. He really didn't hold it. Anyone that size could have been thrown in there. He did kind of relate to Cole as in, I'm teaching him how to wrestle. Those amateur wrestling skills and things like that did actually make sense. But yeah, I was going to say Del Rio, I don't know why I overlooked him there, but I think maybe he could be as strong as The Miz maybe, because here's a guy who's he's had that kind of push where he's stayed there and he has lost and stuff like that, but he could now, he hasn't had the World Championship yet. He'd be a really good WWE champion going into SummerSlam maybe for Cena. Cena Del Rio. Here's
a thought. If they can, they've started it last week with Maurice and Del Rio, and I'm very high on this whole pairing. I think it would be fantastic for both of them, especially that Ted's kind of locked up with Cody and helping him outdo his situation over on SmackDown. So if we got Maurice and Del Rio doing the thing, Ricardo's on holidays, and if somehow, I'm sure, Maurice can interfere in that match, cost whoever the title, then, it's the old school, the female valet at ringside, and he's getting the sneaky wins all the way home. That would nicely set up if Cena retains that Money in the Bank. You're sorted for SummerSlam. Cena and Alberto Del Rio for the title. Maybe give it to Del Rio at SummerSlam then. In Los Angeles, which is full of Mexicans. I don't we know Alberto Del Rio is Mexican, with Maurice by his side. I think would be a safe bet for sure.
I'm with all of that, and I hope it goes down exactly like that, because Del Rio is currently, I liked it, but it's the show Del Rio thing. It was good and funny to begin with, but it's clearly a Mark Henry device, and why kind of put him off to the sideline to get Mark Henry over? Yes, that's positive now. He's a better, probably more interesting character. But Del Rio looked like he was kind of struggling in that cage match. His face said it all. Why are you putting me in here with a guy like this? But on the other hand, of course, Show and Mark Henry, they're possibly saying, look, finally I've got somebody who matches me in terms of size in the ring. And maybe even Show was happy with how Henry's been built properly now, and maybe they're all happy that the guy is finally being shown, to me anyway, in a light that's good. So that's potentially one that could happen. Maybe we'll talk about potential matches, but still on that Raw one, Truth, of course, and I see somebody has joined us in the room under the username Little Jimmy, and I have to say, all over the net, the podcasts, the forums, everywhere, Little Jimmy is being talked about.
It's a big one, yeah, it's a big one. Even the signs in the crowd and stuff.
Has he got a chance to take that briefcase? He's also strong, I think. At least in the eyes of the office, maybe.
I think he's kind of a good all-rounder, It's like any of them, when they're stuck with the bad gimmicks and they get thrown in these team-up situations, of course, anybody with a brain cell is going to say this sucks, It's just the way it goes. But now that he's kind of found his niche and he's running nicely with it and delivering on all accounts, I think eventually maybe he could be up there. Although, giving the belt to a guy like that, if you look at, I suppose, what he's representing, a kind of a nuts psychopath who's hating on the kids, probably won't last all that too long as champ. But I don't even know if he needs to be the champ. He could just go around and do that for another year, just act the maggot, really, can he?
He certainly can, and I certainly could see it going on past SummerSlam. I suppose this is what we're really talking about here, is who's on the way to going to take on Cena at SummerSlam. That's probably what it's going to be here, isn't it?
One, yeah.
And really, looking back, I would say it's probably The Miz. I don't think R-Truth is a SummerSlam main event guy. I think Del Rio probably is, but he's getting an intelligent build where they actually take things slowly and they don't just throw belts on him, because they know that there's more, I think, to him. It's just a kind of it's a head scratcher.
Miz, Miz. I wouldn't rule him out.
I'm going to say Miz will take that Raw briefcase.
Miz can be aggressive when he needs to be. We've seen it in the past. Evan Bourne, on the other hand, he would be my bet if I could do it, but it's not going to happen, really, is it, for poor Evan?
I have to say, I saw Evan Bourne this week. I can't remember who he's in the ring with, but wow, maybe it was that guy. I was saying last week, somebody seemed to have built some size. Now, maybe it's been a while since I've seen him, but it felt like he had built a bit of size. And also, wow, I mean, you could hear Lawler putting him over in the commentary, and it felt like genuine awe, actually, from Lawler. It was actually Sin Cara, Evan Bourne. Incredible match.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a sec. That's something that I forgot completely about. Both, it was the kind of the match everybody wanted to see. The IWC was banging on about it, and there was an error in the Raw, power to the people and all that kind of jazz. Sin Cara is dangerous. I think Sin Cara is a dangerous guy to be in the ring with. He looks careless. He's just flailing around there, spinning. I thought he nearly killed Evan Bourne by the end of that match where he tried to flip Evan for the pin. I can't even remember what it was, some sort of hurricane or something. But Christ almighty, he's going to injure somebody if he keeps that stuff up. I don't think he needs to do that much. I know they're trying to push him and get him over, but he's gone bonkers with that stuff. He's going to kill somebody. I reckon Sin Cara is probably going to kill somebody.
Stiff and sloppy a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
And of course, with that high flying stuff, that becomes even more important. You've got to keep it safe, and I'm going to keep an eye out for that, because certainly it's something you notice and it never goes away. You can see how a guy works, and in this case, of course, two high flyers, and it was always going to be extreme. Now, I did feel like, typically Lawler would kind of be a bit against the extreme and the high flying, and of course I would like to also say the best part, I think, of the Jerry Jarrett interview was that line where he said, more or less this was the line where he said, if you can't do a flip move off the top rope, don't do it. If you can do a flip move off the top rope, don't do it. So basically, you wouldn't expect old school guys to be kind of putting over someone like a Bourne and all that acrobatic stuff, and usually you'd expect them to be a bit more grounded, but I felt it was a genuine put over. And I've heard people like Jake Roberts in blogs talking about how someone like Evan Bourne, he's a huge star. He's got the skills. He's around. He's not much bigger than a Jake Roberts. Maybe smaller, not as tall, but the same body size, if you know what I mean. And maybe he can see something in there with that guy.
The only thing I think, I haven't heard him speak much. Maybe here and there, he might be lacking on the old mic skills, but his timing is great. He's safe, unlike that Sin Cara lunatic, and he keeps it fresh. I think he doesn't just go in and, like, he does a lot of the same spots, not so as much as Cena does, but he kind of comes out with stuff here and there that keeps your attention in those matches. So props to Evan Bourne, and that Sin Cara needs some sort of memo on safety.
I'm sure Sin Cara has probably. Has he ever sort of, I was going to say, has he ever lost with the yellow lights on? Has he ever lost? I mean, is he on a winning streak now?
Did you hear the line on SmackDown where Christian goes, just before they cut to the commercial, Christian's taking a beat down, and he like kind of, camera pans to him, he's like, I can't see with these lights, I can't see.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he does, he says it out loud, it's very funny. I think it was his first defeat, from what I understand, because I was kind of half paying attention to his run, and I think it was his first defeat. But if he's not getting shoved down our throats, he's been on Raw and SmackDown again, and getting in the high spot matches, you know. And we'll get to SmackDown in a bit because I have some more stuff to say about that. But what was the whole question we were talking about again?
Well, the good news being, I think that Sin Cara is in this SmackDown match. He is in the Money in the Bank. But yeah, I mean, I think I was more or less saying, has he lost with those lights on? I think he must have then.
Yeah, he lost with his lights on. Yeah.
There you go. So again, you'd think that new kind of light that they put on him has possibly been a little bit of a swerve in a sense. But he's in that match, the SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder match. Now this one consisting of Kane, Sin Cara, Daniel Bryan, Cody Rhodes, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, and Sheamus. Yeah,
it's someone like Sheamus will probably get killed by Sin Cara, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Everyone else is safe enough. Sheamus will probably be the one that'll...
Someday he'll do a Hurricane Rana and Sheamus will fall out the wrong way.
Smash his head off the ring post and it'll be lights out for good.
So that is a mix of guys that seems a bit low-key at times. Certainly headed up by Kane. I don't expect to see Kane take this. Of course, last year he did that and cashed it on the night. So maybe they want us to think that he's the strongest out of what looks like kind of a lower-end maybe selection bracket of guys. It's actually tricky to pick out who is going to come out on top with this one. You know, maybe a few months ago when the core was strong, I would have said Justin Gabriel or Heath Slater will take it as the swerve. But at this point, I just don't think they're in that position anymore, as strong as they were. Each guy, I mean, we've spoken a bit about Sin Cara. He could be the wild card, actually, of all of those guys.
Yeah.
Again, too early, though.
Yeah, but I mean, Super Push, although they did Super Push with Alberto, and he didn't take it that time, I think Sheamus might be the one. If he doesn't get killed, Sheamus will be the one to take it. If not, I put strong money on Heath Slater, the one-man rock band.
You know, this Chemical Fire in the chat room has said you have to be able to use a mic to be a Money in the Bank winner. Sin Cara doesn't speak. I don't see him winning it. And Mac Attack 90, he needs to learn English quick. There are major communication problems. And I do wonder, actually, how they managed to communicate him. I thought it was interesting as well to hear that Del Rio and Sin Cara, a little bit of heat, actually.
Really?
Yeah, apparently from their days in Mexico, they're not the best of friends, and those two coming up in and around the same time. I mean, I know Sin Cara... Yeah, I just don't see him as the permanent Rey Mysterio, because I think, you know, talk of issues backstage and things at such an early point often points to me that maybe you're not actually going to see him around for a long time. But so in that case, I'm gonna count him out. I'm going to count Kane out. With Daniel Bryan, I don't think he's ever going to get a proper push. But again, I'm going to be wrong this time next week, possibly. Of course, it is all about opinion here. Cody Rhodes, I would actually like to see Cody Rhodes go up there, take it, and realistically, though, would he be taking on the World Heavyweight Champion?
Yeah, the thing with Rhodes, very consistent over the last couple of weeks, and he can really talk, actually, can he? I mean, he's doing a really great job there. Size-wise, I think is an issue a little bit for him, and I think maybe a little bit soon for him as well. I just got that feeling. So yeah, I don't think it'll be Justin Gabriel. I probably won't be Heath Slater. I'm kind of half joking about that one. But Sheamus, I think Sheamus, maybe Sheamus.
Possibility. You know, has he suffered the same fate as Drew McIntyre? Of course, Drew McIntyre thrown backstage, if you like, by Michaels, who said dump that backstage, got rid of him, and that was it. And maybe they feel the same way about Sheamus, because they had that early work that, oh, everybody's behind them, etc., and look where they are now, not too far along the road. You know, they could always come back to Sheamus at any point, and I think he could deliver, because match-wise, he's always good.
Yeah, and you know, he was out proving a point on SmackDown this week, taking everybody out at the end of the show, so I'm sure that was for a reason, you know. What about Wade Barrett? Is he in this mix?
That's right, actually. Yeah, Wade Barrett is also in this, and just about to mention him. Of course, I didn't in the first reading of that, but he's there, and again, it kind of cheapens Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater's position. Maybe they're going to be the fall guys for him. Maybe they're going to run up that ladder and save it for Barrett.
Maybe, or maybe they'll take him out.
Yeah,
and one of those might swerve the other one, leading to a serious implosion of the former tag champs. How about Big Zeke? He's not in the mix now.
Apparently not. Now, so far anyway, he doesn't seem to be there. But that's an interesting point you make there about how there could be an implosion, a core implosion as a result of this. This is a match that with so many guys involved, you can set up stuff, can't you? And you just alerted me to that there. You can create new programs, you can continue old programs, and there's so much you can do actually off those two matches. It is a it's a good pay-per-view team.
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah. Well, haven't Gabriel and Slater kind of drifted from Wade, but from what I remember, so. Yeah, either one of the two, maybe they'll put a beat down on him, or else one will try to take the other one out. I can imagine Gabriel being the baby face going forward, Slater being the heel going forward, because Gabriel just can't do the heel thing, I don't think, with that accent, unfortunately.
So actually, counting up heels and baby faces there, Kane is
babyface, was he?
He was heel as champion, wasn't he? And what have they done with him since? Has he been in anything to say otherwise? I think he is heel, actually. Sin Cara babyface, Daniel Bryan babyface, Cody Rhodes heel, Justin, Heath, they're heels, Barrett is a heel, Sheamus is a heel.
There's a lot of heels there.
There is. Sin Cara and Daniel Bryan effectively the only baby faces in there. So if we're going to say a heel is going to win the SmackDown and we're going to go back to Raw, is a heel going to win that in The Miz? Maybe it's got no connection at all, really.
Potentially two heels really will take the Raw one. It'll probably be Del Rio. If not, it'll be The Miz, I'd imagine, which would probably leave SmackDown open to a babyface, possibly, but again, it doesn't always happen, so...
Now, is there an off-the-wall theory here? Because I just noticed again Zack Ryder, who was confirmed as the Internet Champion. Did you read this? The WWE Internet Champion. Apparently, it's a new belt. I don't know how official this thing is, but I would like to see it go forward. Now, only reason I mention him, are they just going to throw him into the Raw thing? Maybe Zack Ryder is going to come out of there as the first ever undisputed Internet/WWE Champion. I mean, he's been backstage with Cena. Don't rule it out, you know.
And it has been on TV, that belt. Yeah, so they're rolling with this in a house show kind of a situation?
Yeah, that's it. I think it was somewhere like Australia. He was crowned the Internet Champion.
That's amazing.
But again, it's a house show, so until you heard that said on TV, you know.
What about, didn't they try that, what was it they called him when Cena had the mask on there for a week? Cena's cousin.
Juan Cena. Yeah.
I'd love to see that shit on TV.
What the hell? Yeah, that Juan Cena thing was good. So going through each of these guys, again, there are some more matches on Money in the Bank, but it's for the World Heavyweight Championship. So, you know, who's got a legit chance at getting that? Kane, Sheamus and Barrett stand out to me initially. And
let's set up the angles like we did with Raw. So potentially Christian or Orton's going to come out with the belt, right? Is that the match?
That's right, yeah. And has that even been booked? It may not have. I think it probably has been.
They tried to sign it down and they're on SmackDown, but Sheamus came out and beat everybody up.
That's right. So yeah, so you're looking at Orton going in as champion. So yeah, I mean, again, I want to talk about that Christian heel thing. Maybe we'll save that for SmackDown. But yeah, I suppose to note that he is a heel, and that we might have only two baby faces coming out of this. You know, what seems fresh to me would be Daniel Bryan versus Christian.
Just going to say.
Wouldn't that be unbelievable?
That's a good one. That's a good little one you could roll with. They're both kind of funny as well, so you could get some good stuff out of the two of them. On the other hand, if it was Orton to retain, Orton Rhodes would be quite funny. I think that would be a great little... a great little angle for them to roll with it if Rhodes took it. Besides that, Orton Sheamus we've kind of seen, and Slater I don't think, you know, I know eventually we'll get there, but I don't think he's ready for Orton just yet, is he?
Probably not. Of course, Orton and Rhodes you mentioned there, that would lift Rhodes up to a whole new level. New levels for the guy. I mean, if he just had a chance to be in there, probably even people who I think in general people have sort of come around to the guy. I mean, they've seen him in good matches. You can't deny that some of that stuff with Mysterio, and of course the Mania match as well this year was fantastic, really. I mean, for a guy who really, he hasn't had a whole lot of time, I think, to actually learn his craft on TV. I mean, he had all the stuff with Orton. That was certainly a lot of time, but since then, it took until this, you know, this brown paper bag angle to kind of really have him on there every week for a purpose, and to, you know, tie in that good stuff with good wrestling in-ring ability. That's it really, the whole package.
Not forgetting this. How about this one? If Rhodes was to take Money in the Bank, now that he's got Ted by his side and he's going to do his dirty work, if you put Cody in the angle with Orton, then you've got the 3 members of Legacy, with a lot of history that you can show the tape, roll the footage, and off you go. So that might work nicely. You know, Rhodes could go to town on Orton for you know, the whole how his gimmick has ended up and all that kind of stuff.
Certainly, and of course, as you say, DiBiase, he's kind of hung on in the Rhodes angle, interestingly enough, almost in Rhodes' shadow now. And we see bits where it's that classic window box promo where the match is running and you have Ted in the corner. When they brought that back first time, I was delighted.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's terrific.
And certainly when you look at that, you could see the old programming you used to watch. And of course, many times you would have maybe a guy come in the 90s, he would squash a guy, and his promo would be playing as he was squashing.
For that minute and 30 seconds while he's getting some jobbers getting the beat down of his life. You know, one other thing I will say on the subject of that, it's like they're giving out pushes for everybody on SmackDown with those vignettes, aren't they? Have you seen? Did you recall that from this week? Everybody got a kind of super push from Daniel Bryan and his own little video package, or Truth, a whole bunch of them. Half the roster, Sin Cara got his one in again. So it's almost like if things have gone a little stale, even Mark Henry, they're reminding you, this is his situation. This is why he is where he is, and I think sometimes those things do get everybody over, even for 1 week. If they do it again next week, all the better. But if for any reason you get bored or things are stale, run those little those videos, get peeps back up in the pecking order. It's good stuff.
Of course, someone mentioned, I think it was on an internet. When I say someone, it could be the internet, it could be a message, it could be anywhere. You know how you pick up these bits and pieces in terms of information, and always saying, of course, whether it's true or not, we never know. But in this case, it's a fact that DiBiase's been on a massive losing streak, and of course we've seen that. And somebody said that again, that was continued, of course, this week with the loss. And you know, DiBiase, he would actually be a feeder talent for Orton, if you like, if they did that Rhodes Orton thing. And as you say, there's so much history there, so much legacy, of course, that those 3 will be perfect. And the Christian thing is just getting a bit old now. But that is the SmackDown Money in the Bank match. Each guy there, in terms of possibilities, I'm just going to stick with one. And I think Sin Cara is going on to Christian, actually. I'm going to say Sin Cara and Christian is going to happen eventually. I'm just going to say, I guess, really, that I think... Let's just go with Cody Rhodes grabbing it. I'll go with Cody Rhodes.
I'm going to go with Cody, yeah. Looking at it in the long run. Sin Cara, I would agree with whoever said in the chat room that the lack of talking on his behalf would certainly not help.
Of course, it is our Money in the Bank predictions here live on justin.tv/WrestleDope, and also live on tape on youtube.com/TheWrestleDope. if you are indeed watching on YouTube, do be sure and check out the channel, subscribe, and of course you will find a brand new interview there from Jerry Jarrett, and indeed we spent an hour talking to a true legend, and I certainly I believe that of everybody, who can tell you more about the business in terms of territory? We could have gone on for hours with Jerry.
It was insane, yeah.
And he would have as well,
Yeah, yeah, he definitely would. He can certainly talk for sure. He's not afraid to answer questions either. But, you would just learn. You would just learn from it. Stuff that you might assume. You could be so far from the actual point that it's not even funny sometimes. But, yeah, for students of the game in any way, definitely worth a watch.
Certainly, and now to continue, more Money in the Bank predictions. Last week, as I said, early thoughts. This week, a lot more confirmed in terms of competitors for those two matches, and also Brie Bella taking on Kelly Kelly for that WWE Women's Championship. And, well, I just want to say Kelly Kelly hopefully will hold it for a long time. I mean, why take it off her now?
Why would you mess with that? Yeah. She has I've said this before, a crazy style, doesn't she? Well, she was doing some sort of like I don't know, like she pulls out these mad ass moves sometimes. It was like a walls, kind of a walls of Kelly, I'd probably call it. But yeah, she's a crazy one, that Kelly.
Yeah, she does attempt things, new things all the time. I can remember a while back, I think she probably still uses this, but she did the kind of the backflip 2 or 3 times into the turnbuckle. Someone is waiting there to take a blow, but basically she's thrown in stuff like that. Occasionally it goes wrong, but she's always tried, I have to say that. Of course, I do remember she, of course, did go out with Test, who, of course, is now no longer with us, but he apparently taught her a lot of stuff, and he used to constantly work with her. And I think she's always worked, I know that for sure. She's been a kind of a student. Whether it's appeared that way or not, I think people will have their opinions, but she is certainly someone who I think, in terms of women's champions, she's paid her dues for these past few years. I don't think the Bellas have, in a sense, but she's been there, and for what it's worth, I think
in
she
every
should
sense
stay.
of the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Orton as well, having a chat about her this week.
We won't go there, but she, yeah, like you say, it's easy to write her off, I think, because she's a looker and all that stuff. Very easy to just say she's another well, she's a Barbie, but her name, that is. But you could just say another one of those model ones that having a notion or whatever. I think she's a legit kind of a good person. I think that smile is genuine, and I think that's probably one thing that gets her over, is that, or else it's probably you could be probably a sucker for it, which is probably more so the case. But either way, look, she's the champ and she's doing a good job, and as crazy as some of those spots she pulls off are, she's never been stale. I don't think she's never been stale in my book.
Yeah, an excellent, actually, babyface female champion. I can remember when who was it who came into TNA? That small blonde one that came out of nowhere, Taylor Wilde.
Yeah.
I remember when she first came in, thinking she's just a great baby face. Everything from the look, and she's kind of small. She's not like muscly and all. It's just perfect baby face material for what we now see as female wrestling. And I mean, on that subject, I watched some classic female wrestling from the early 80s, some NWA, some Mid-South, and even some WWF. And the quality back then, it was a little bit kind of hokey in the way it was. Even the men's wrestling at times could appear that way, but it was excellent. It was acrobatic, it was all over the place. And if anybody can bring that back, I would hope maybe they would try eventually to bring that back. I know Laurinaitis a big fan of maybe divas like the Bellas, and fair enough. I mean, he knows what he's doing. But Kelly Kelly, I think, is going to go out on top. I think she's going to retain this title too early. The thought did occur to me, though, that maybe it was handed to Kelly Kelly to give it to Nikki Bella the next time it was up for it, because Brie had it.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Although, we did say she's kind of some bit recognised for things that aren't sports entertainment, and that being a nice looking lady. So with that whole magazine top 100 thing that she had recently, like we said last week, it does make sense to give her the strap at the moment. Again, maybe it was a thing where they didn't seem a cool jumping ship, so not jumping ship, but jumping forever pretty much, so soon, and it was kind of a plan B or an afterthought. Who knows? Well, you know, she's good. She's good as champ, I think.
They did kind of get messed around at least a little bit when you had Karma suddenly departing, McCool gone a few months before. But it's given a spot to someone like Kelly. I remember back originally when we started doing this, I know we talked a lot more about the Divas matches, but it did become very, very poor. I mean, it was tricky to begin with, but you know, the last 6 months, you know, apart from Karma, which is the main thing, there really wouldn't be anything to talk about. I mean, there isn't those quality kind of Melina, Mickey James matches anymore. It's all been very kind of frivolous, very lightweight for a long time. Far from high impact at times, and you know, a lot of those kind of 3-on-3 and too much of Eve Torres as well. I mean, at this point, I'm absolutely sick of that character. But you know, it is John Cena versus who for the championship?
Punk.
It's John Cena Punk, yeah. So that's, and is that 100%? It is, yeah.
Well, see, R-Truth's...
He's been saying it. I'm taking the...
R-Truth's in Money in the Bank, right? So yeah, I think it's Punk Cena, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
So I think that's if that's the one. I think we've talked a lot about those two, but I would just go with it and say Cena would retain. I'm open to the massive swerve though of Punk taking it and saying, well, I'm actually staying or I'm retiring with the belt or something like that.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Because that would last a night, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It would probably capture the moment, and it would be a good thing to look back on, especially with the Chicago crowd, as we mentioned earlier, and people in the chat room said as well. Yeah, I'd probably go with Cena to retain. It's one of the two always. I suppose it always is really one of the two. But Cena to retain, or else some sort of swerve that lasts 24 hours, and then, you know, Punk somehow loses it again on Monday night, if he's around to do Monday night.
I'm also excited about a potential Mark Henry taking on the Big Show. That one is going to be electric with that new Mark Henry heel persona. We've got a character we can actually enjoy now. We can laugh with him as he tries to be as evil as possible, and actually he doesn't do too bad at all. Henry versus Big Show, I would say I'd like to see Mark Henry, you know, this time Big Show goes out on the stretcher. That's what I want to see.
Well, they're pushing Mark Henry hard now.
Yeah.
It's about time he got something decent. It's funny if you can catch those sound bites when he's shouting and roaring. I did like with the one where some guy in the crowd was giving him stick, and Henry's like, I'm over here, you're over there. That's just the way it is. And it's true for him, you know. He is a superstar. So Mark Henry, yeah, it's about time he, you know, gets another attempt at a push. You'd wonder what kind of has held him back all the time. You know, he's always kind of just push for a week or two, maybe a month or so, comedy spots, but never anything really legit. He's never been a world champion.
Yeah, I remember it was said a lot that, in fairness,
was he ECW champion? Sorry,
he was ECW champion actually, but they said that like, look, they made a big deal about him, didn't they, when they signed him? Look, it's this Olympic guy, and you know, we're going to do so much with him, and you know, he's going to be all over the place, and all anyone can remember is Mae Young and the hand, and that's all anyone ever says. And you know, hang on to a guy that long and never ever use him to his full potential. I think, you know, I think people kind of wait for and hope for Big Show rebuilds all the time, but they never really think about a Mark Henry rebuild. And I think that's what they've come out of with this, is something legit actually.
You know, half the for me, and I'm sure for you as well, and for a lot of people, I won't cut you off there, sorry now, but I'm just going to say this quickly, is that the music situation, you know, it does add a lot to it. If he's going to come out to that thing, he's been coming out to that song forever, and with the same, well, I know he's changed the tights up a little bit there as of late, but that's a big factor, you know. If they want to seriously get him over, change the music. It's the most simple formula ever, and it always works, you know. It always works.
That's right, just a little bit of a changeover. And do you notice that thing about SmackDown? I think we may as well head there. And that, of course, is where we will go to. If you're watching on YouTube, you can check out that next video. But that is, so far anyway, our Money in the Bank